Hey gym family. Okay, so as promised, here is another mobility video. We're going to talk about releasing your glutes. So right now, if you're doing a lot of sitting, you're basically laminating these tissues and they're not moving right, and that means you're going to overuse your hip flexors and your quads. So let's get those glutes working for us. So first is that we want to roll them. We want to untack those tissues and get some increased blood flow circulation into them. So if you have a roller, the easiest way to do that is to start by sitting on the roller. Your hands are going to go behind and you're going to cross one leg over at the ankle at the knee, and then you're going to shift, and that's the cheek you're going to roll. So the leg that's crossed over is the side that you're rolling, and then you start again at the top, looking, rolling back and forth for any tight spots. When I find a tight spot, I can contract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale, release, and then try to let that roller sink on in. So for some of you, this might be enough pressure to release and give you some good blood flow in there. For others, you might need something a little bit more targeted. So if that's the case, you need a little bit deeper glute feel. You have, again, supernova or lacrosse ball. This was going to get a little bit higher, more general area. I mean, it gets in there, but if you need to get closer around that hip, then the lacrosse ball is a good way to go as well. So again, you're sticking this just outside that tailbone into that soft meaty tissue. And I usually like to start there, cross that foot over, and then I like to roll out, because those glute fibers, they start at that tailbone and they fan out towards your hip, and they internally and externally rotate those femurs. So we want to roll them kind of in line of the way those tissues flow, but also don't be afraid to come across and up and down. And I am hitting some beautiful, nice tight spots in there. Take that deep breath, let that ball sink in there, and see if you can get those trigger points to relax. So that's the first way to roll your glutes. Now you have to remember that they're huge. You have that glute medius, which sits a little higher, that big glute maximus, and then you also have all the insertion of the hamstrings, which kind of hit right up into that gluteal fold. So all of that is going to affect how that hip moves. So if you need to get a little higher into this low back area, the easiest way to do that is to put your feet up on something. So if I put my feet up here on a chair, a bed, and then I bridge up, and then I stick that ball, again, high up, not quite low back, but not quite butt, kind of in between. If I stick it right there and put a little pressure, again, I can cross that leg over to open up and get access to that piriformis muscle. And then again, it allows it a little bit easier to manipulate and get those high glute tissues there. So again, I'm just rolling and searching for tight areas. You could also, if your low back is tight, you can this is another easy way to kind of bring it up into those higher tissues and put a little bit more body weight and roll those tissues too if you need to release that lower back. So that is a great way to untack those fibers. Now, once we release those tissues, now we want to kind of work in that in range and dynamically stretch them. So a good, one of the best ways to help release those tissues is that pigeon pose. Now, not everyone can get into that pigeon pose. I always suggest that you start with a 90-90, where I have 90-degree bend in the front leg, 90-degree bend in the back leg, and I come forward. Now, if this is enough stretch, you can stay here and you can work nice flat back, and you can work towards the knee, work towards the foot. So I'm trying to increase and stretch all that glute fiber at the different angle. If you need a little more stretch and you have extension, you can go ahead and start working that back leg back. And so now I'm getting hip extension and working flexion and external rotation in that front leg. And again, if you're really flexible, you can come up and start working on trying to make this your pivot point, and it really increases the stretch in that hip. So those are different ways that you can do this on the floor. Now, with hip extension, if you can't get that back because you're tight through here, then you can elevate your position. So you can come to a box or a chair or a couch. I'll show you that too. Anything that's about mid thigh level is probably going to be the most comfortable. And again, you're going to place your foot on top, trying to get that 90-degree bend, kicking that back leg back. Here, because I'm elevated, I don't have to have that real good hip extension. I can kind of let it hang, sit, and then I can again fold over, and I'm working all those angles and vectors, trying to stretch. If the knee is an issue, trying to get it even and parallel like this, then you can hang the lower leg off, right? So now it's not as much of an angle for the knee, and I can still work in that angle. Or you can cradle that knee up and then work in here. So there's some different things that you can do. Just for example, on the couch, really any surface can work. You can come here, you can stick that leg up. So now I'm standing upright, and then I can bend over. And again, I'm working that same position. If you have an office chair or any kind of chair, you can come over here. I like to use a bench. And I've done this with a couple of you guys in class, where you cross that knee over at the ankle, sitting up nice and tall, pushing that knee down, and again, folding forward. Just enough to feel that stretch. And again, changing the angle. And of course, my favorite one of all is using the wall, which is being occupied. Come on, here we go. All right, so this is where you're gonna get nice and close. Your butt as close to the wall as you can. Legs are straight. This is a great way to stretch your hamstrings. So if you can't get your butt close and legs straight up, then that's a goal you need to work towards, right? Otherwise, you're going to be here. You're going to bridge up, cross that leg over, and then you let those hips sink, and then just let gravity open up that hip. Hey, baby. You can also pull the knee across to the opposite shoulder, and that will increase the stretch of those glute muscles.
Crimson, come.
So, a couple different ways you can target those fibers, find which one works best for you, but that's a good start to start ungluing those butt cheeks. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you guys again.